Let me first ask you the question of, have we peaked? You know, a lot of people are talking about this. Demand is so strong, and it has been for a while, but can it get any higher?
It could, you can say. We still have a couple of countries who are not on their peak, like Turkey or Argentina, but that's without kidding. I would say that the global market is always the peak of all the markets, and we have the unique situation these days that both Europe, United States, Japan and China and Indonesia are going upwards, and those impact the global markets a lot because of the parallel movement. So we are in good times at the moment, and a good truck market is always a good sign for a healthy economy worldwide.
We look at the sector as something of an indicator. Can you tell us what your concerns are with regards to global trade and the rhetoric on trade? What's the biggest risk to your business, and what can you do to mitigate that risk?
This is a real and true concern for our business because we're always thinking long-term cycles. So we depend on a long-term stability. We are a global company with a big footprint in each and every large economy, employing thousands of people everywhere around the globe: United States, Japan, China, Europe, Brazil, India, whatever country. We invest hundreds of millions in those economies, and certainly we live from a free exchange of ideas, of people, of goods. And we need that as a long-term stability for the greater good and of each and every economy we are in.
How concerned are you? So the trade war is a problem for you. I wonder about regulations. And a lot of people, Martin, would think that increasing regulatory, especially for environmental reasons, would be an issue, a negative issue for truck makers. But it seems that it's helping to boost your sales because businesses want cleaner, newer engines. Is that the case?
I mean, cleaner and more fuel-efficient engines are, since the last 10, 15 years, our main concern. We try to reduce every 3 years by 3 to 5% our fuel efficiency to make our trucks better, to make the usage of the trucks for the customers more important. Fuel efficiency is, was and will be always our major concern. Why? Because the customer spends about twice as much money on fuel during a lifetime of a truck than he spends on the actual purchase of a truck. So we push the envelope fairly far. However, when it comes to combustion, we are closing in on what's technically feasible. You can't beat physics. So we have to look for alternative drivelines, and this is certainly electric trucks, electric vans. We are really pretty big in at the moment. There are a lot of technical problems we are going to solve, but there is still an economic gap. It's still more and cheaper and better and more efficient for a customer to run a combustion engine than an electric engine. So we are working hard to close that gap significantly, and you'll see here in the show in Hanover very good examples how we try and do that.
Martin, could you just clarify a little for us something that you referred to, I think, this week with regards to whether Daimler would ever want to IPO the trucks and buses division? You seem to suggest that there is no need to do that, so we won't look for any kind of IPO anytime soon. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely right. I don't want to fuel any type of speculations. I think we are in a great shape at Daimler. On the one side, we really focus, sharpen our businesses, creating those small, agile units with trucks and buses, focusing on our business. On the other side, we benefit big time from being part of the big family of high innovative companies, and there's a good exchange of ideas and people between the divisions, whether the car side or the truck side. So I think Daimler is ideally positioned for the future with lots of opportunities.
Do you have any advice to your colleagues that are dealing with a collusion investigation right now? The truck side of the business dealt with this already. What's the way forward for the car makers, for example, Daimler AG or BMW and Volkswagen?
I mean, this is generally a pretty difficult topic, and it's very, and I don't want to comment too deep on it. But on the other side, I want to highlight that there is a necessity these days to standardize a lot of stuff. And you wouldn't be happy if at the end of the day, every single truck manufacturer have a different plug for their electric cars. We need standards in the industry. So there needs to be ways that the manufacturers can work together in a very open way to help the public with great products which are kind of standardized too.
Okay, so that's the argument for working together in an open way, as you say, Martin. Can I ask a little bit about margins? My colleagues were telling me about the margins at Daimler trucks coming in below rivals such as Volvo, but size is supposed to matter, scale is supposed to matter. What are you able to do to drive up those margins?
Margins are, if you just focus on margins, you're potentially a little bit short. We have an extensive business on smaller trucks in Asia, for example, that contribute a lot of absolute profit. So I'm focusing more on the absolute profit, but are a little bit lower on margins than heavy-duty trucks in Europe and the United States. So the mix is a pretty important factor on the one side. On the other side, I'm more a guy for the long run. We invest these days a lot, hundreds of millions every year in projects like connectivity, like electric, like autonomous, but we don't see any benefits for the time coming, but which will position our company very strongly for the future. So I never will sacrifice the long-term future for a short-term quarterly gain.
So autonomous trucks would be much more cost efficient and much safer. How long until we have Daimler trucks driving themselves on the road?
This is an interesting question. I would say this is a $1 billion question. And I hope I'll see that while still being CEO of the Daimler Truck Group, and I intend to be that a long time, so it can be a long time out. I mean, there are a lot of technical problems to be solved. A lot of the fallout, positive fallout, you see already in the actual Actros, which just launched these days in Hanover, with a lot of what we call driver assistance systems, which helps the driver to make truck driving so much safer, like automatic braking, like line assist, like blind spot observations. These are great innovations, but a driverless truck, we are still some years away. We have to make it absolutely safe, but we work feverishly on it. We just created a global competence center in Oregon in the United States, working very closely together with the competence center here in Germany. And I'm pretty optimistic that we will make big strides forward, but it's a little bit too early to give a clear year when it will happen.